Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at T-cell fatigue,
Oh, yeah.
which is super interesting.
It's a fascinating topic.
And I'm really excited to get into it with you today.
Yeah, me too.
So we're working with a recent scientific article called Understanding T-cell Fatigue from Assay Genie, written by Umang Tiagi,
Okay.
and published in April of this year, 2024.
Yeah.
Before we jump into T-cell fatigue, though,
Okay.
let's just make sure we're all on the same page about T-cells.
Sure.
So for our listeners who might not be as familiar with T-cells,
Yeah,
can you just give us a quick, what are they? Why are they important?
absolutely. So T cells are like the special forces of your immune system.
Okay.
They're these highly trained units that can identify and eliminate threats
Right.
like viruses, bacteria, and even rogue cells that could turn cancerous. And they're part of what we call adaptive immunity,
Okay.
meaning they learn and remember their enemies, so the next time they encounter the same threat,
Yeah.
they can mount a much faster and more effective response.
So they're learning as they go,
Yeah, exactly.
which is incredible to think about.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like I always think of it as like the soldiers that are out there, like patrolling,
Exactly.
making sure that everything's okay.
That's a great analogy.
And so that brings us to this idea of T-cell fatigue.
Right.
So what happens when these soldiers, these special forces,
Yeah.
get worn down?
Well, that's when things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because in certain situations, like a long-standing infection or a really stubborn tumor, these T cells can get exhausted. And we call this T cell fatigue.
Okay, so it's literally like they're tired.
Yeah, they get worn down, they lose their ability to function properly.
So what's going on like at a cellular level?
Okay, so at a cellular level,
Yeah.
there are a few key things happening. One of the main changes is that exhausted T cells start expressing what we call inhibitory receptors.
Inhibitory receptors. Now, is that like I don't know.
Yeah.
What's a good analogy for that?
So imagine these receptors as brakes on a car.
Oh, okay.
They essentially put the brakes on the T cell's activity.
Oh, so even though they want to be fighting,
Exactly.
they've got these brakes that are holding them back.
Yeah, and we know some of the major players in this braking system.
Oh, okay.
Receptors with names like PD1, CTLA4, and LG3. They bind to other cells and signal the T cell to basically stand down.
So why would our bodies even have a system in place
Right.
to slow down the immune response?
That's a great question, and it's something that researchers are still trying to fully understand.
Okay.
But it seems like these inhibitory receptors are usually part of a delicate balancing act.
Okay.
You know, they're there to prevent the immune system from going into overdrive
Right.
and attacking our own healthy cells.
Oh, so it's like a safety mechanism?
Exactly.
So that it doesn't go rogue.
Yeah, like a checks and balances system
Very
to
well.
keep things under control.
But then in these cases, like chronic infections or cancer,
Right.
these breaks are like,
Yeah, the balance gets thrown off
Yeah.
and the brakes get slammed on too hard.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the key things that happens with T cell fatigue.
Okay. And it's not just these inhibitory receptors, right?
Oh, there's more.
Okay.
Exhausted T cells also undergo changes in their transcription factors.
Transcription factors.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a word that people throw around a lot,
It is.
but don't really know what it means.
Yeah.
So can you break that down for us a little bit?
Absolutely. So think of it this way. Every cell has like a set of instructions that tell it how to behave, right?
Yeah.
Transcription factors are like the control switches that turn these instructions on or off.
Like the control panel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And in exhausted T cells, these control switches are altered in a way that makes them less effective at fighting.
Oh, so it's like their control panel's getting messed up.
Yeah, you could say that. And then on top of all of that, their metabolism, how they produce energy,
Yeah.
also gets disrupted.
So it's like a car running out of fuel.
Precisely.
We've got the cells are being held back, their control panel's glitching, and they're running out of gas.
Yeah, it's a triple whammy.
No wonder they're tired.
Yeah.
So why should, we as non-scientists, why should we care about all of this?
Well, because T cell fatigue has real-world consequences.
Okay.
You know, it affects our ability to combat chronic infections and even impacts how well we respond to cancer treatments.
Okay, let's start with chronic infections.
Okay.
The article specifically mentions HIV and hepatitis B.
Right.
How does T-cell fatigue affect those diseases?
So in those cases, T cell fatigue becomes a real problem because the exhausted T cells are just less effective at eliminating the virus, allowing it to persist in the body.
So it's like the virus is hiding out.
It's like it's hiding out and taking advantage
Advantage.
of the exhausted immune system.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So the virus can basically just hang out there and...
Yeah, it can establish a foothold
Right.
and potentially lead to long-term complications.
That's not good.
No, that's not ideal.
What about cancer?
Okay, so with cancer,
Yeah.
it's a bit like a game of cat and mouse.
Okay.
You know, T cells are usually on patrol, eliminating cells that could become cancerous.
Right.
But when T cell fatigue sets in,
Yeah.
those cancer cells have a better chance of escaping detection
Oh, okay.
and forming a tumor.
So it's not just that the T cells can't fight as well. They're not even recognizing the threat in the first place.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So it's a double whammy.
Gotcha.
You know, they're less effective at recognizing and eliminating the threat.
Wow.
And even if they do recognize the tumor,
Yeah.
their exhausted state means they might not be able to mount a strong enough attack to eliminate it.
So it's almost like the tumor is wearing down the immune system.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It's like it's taking advantage of that fatigue.
And then on top of all that, the article also mentioned something about memory impairment.
Right.
Can you explain what that is and why it matters?
Absolutely. So our immune system is pretty incredible in that it remembers past enemies.
Yeah.
This immune memory allows it to react much faster
Right.
and more effectively if the same threat appears again.
Okay.
But T-cell exhaustion can weaken this memory,
Oh, no.
making it more vulnerable to infections we've already fought off before.
So it's like our security system is forgetting the codes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, that's a little unnerving, but I'm holding on to the fact that this article is called Understanding T-cell Fatigue,
Right.
which implies that there are ways to address it.
There are.
So is there hope on the horizon?
Absolutely. There's a lot of hope on the horizon.
Okay, good.
The good news is that understanding the mechanisms of T-cell fatigue
Yeah.
has opened up brand new avenues for treatment.
Okay.
And some of the most revolutionary cancer therapies in recent years
Yeah.
are actually based on combating T-cell exhaustion.
So we're learning how to manipulate our immune system
Yeah.
to fight disease more effectively.
Exactly.
I love it. Tell me everything.
Okay, so one of the biggest breakthroughs is called immune checkpoint blockade,
Okay.
or ICB for short.
ICP. Okay.
And remember those inhibitory receptors we talked about?
Yes, the brakes.
The brakes on the T cells?
Yeah.
So ICB therapies actually work by blocking those receptors.
So we're taking the brakes off,
Yeah, we're essentially releasing the brakes on the immune system.
letting them go full throttle.
Exactly, allowing those T cells to attack the cancer cells
I love it.
with renewed vigor.
Okay.
And it's had remarkable success in treating certain types of cancer.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about these.
Yeah.
The article mentioned PD-1, CTLA-4, and LAG-3 as targets for ICB therapies.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those are the rock stars of the cancer world right now.
They are.
But I have to imagine that taking the brakes off the immune system
Yeah.
completely can have some downsides.
That's a very astute observation.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right.
Okay.
While these therapies are incredibly promising,
Yeah.
there's always a potential for what we call immune-related adverse events.
What does that mean?
Essentially, the immune system, now unleashed, can sometimes overreact and attack healthy tissues.
Oh, so it's like it's going a little overboard.
Yeah, can get a little overzealous and cause some collateral damage.
So almost like giving someone a shot of espresso and then watching them just bounce off the walls.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
It's like we're giving the immune system this boost,
Yeah.
but we need to make sure it doesn't go too crazy.
We need to be able to like control it a little bit.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
That balance.
That balance between unleashing the power of the immune system
Right.
and making sure it doesn't cause harm in the process.
Okay.
So there's a lot we're still learning
Yeah.
about how to manage these therapies effectively.
So are there other treatments on the horizon
Yes,
that kind of tackle this problem from a different angle?
absolutely.
Okay.
Scientists are exploring a lot of different approaches.
Okay.
One really exciting avenue is targeting the metabolic pathways
Okay.
of exhausted T cells.
So instead of taking the brakes off, we're giving them more fuel.
Exactly.
Okay.
Imagine replenishing their fuel reserves
Oh.
so they can fight more effectively.
I like it.
And then there's adoptive cell therapy,
Okay.
or ACT, where scientists are actually engineering T cells in the lab
What?
to be supercharged cancer fighters.
That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like we're entering this whole new era of medicine
Yeah.
where we're not just treating disease, but actually reprogramming ourselves to fight it.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
And then there's another one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cytokine therapy.
Cytokine therapy, yes.
Tell me about that.
So cytokines are like messenger molecules.
Okay.
They can boost T cell function.
Okay.
So they can help to re-energize those exhausted T cells.
Oh, wow.
And enhance their ability to fight infection and cancer.
So many possibilities.
There's so many different approaches being explored right now.
Yeah, it feels like we're finally cracking the code of the immune system.
It really does.
And learning how to utilize it in these really incredible ways.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning, you know.
It's inspiring.
There's so much more to come.
But it also makes me think about,
Yeah.
you know, the responsibility that comes with that power.
Absolutely. That's a really important point.
Yeah.
And something we should definitely discuss further.
Yeah, because it's one thing to understand it,
Yeah.
but then it's another thing to be able to...
To use it responsibly.
Yes, to use it responsibly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Should we delve into that now?
Let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about those ethical considerations.
Sounds good.
So I think that's a really important part of this conversation as well.
Definitely.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.
It's mind-blowing to think we're on the verge of being able to reprogram our own immune cells. But with any powerful tool, there's that sense of responsibility that comes with it.
Absolutely. And that's a really important point to consider as we delve deeper into these advancements in fighting T-cell fatigue.
Right, because we've talked about taking the brakes off the immune system and giving those T cells an energy boost, even engineering these supercharged cells in the lab.
It's incredible how far we've come.
It really is, but as we move forward, it's crucial to acknowledge the ethical considerations that come with this level of scientific progress.
I completely agree. It's not just about what we can do, but also about what we should do.
Exactly. So what kind of ethical considerations are we talking about here?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is access and affordability.
Okay, I could see how that would be an issue.
These cutting-edge treatments are often incredibly expensive, raising questions about who will benefit from these advancements and who might be left behind.
So it's almost like we're on the cusp of a medical revolution,
Yeah.
but we need to make sure everyone has a ticket to ride.
Precisely. We can't have a situation where these life-changing treatments are only available to a select few.
It wouldn't be right if only the wealthy could afford to reprogram their immune cells.
Equity and access are paramount when we're talking about something as fundamental as health.
And even if we can address the issue of access,
Right.
there's still the question of unintended consequences.
That's another critical aspect to consider. We're still learning about the long-term effects of manipulating the immune system.
So we need to proceed with caution.
Absolutely. We need to make sure our enthusiasm doesn't overshadow the need for rigorous research and careful consideration of potential risks.
It's like we're walking this tightrope between pushing the boundaries of scientific innovation and making sure we're not doing more harm than good.
It's a delicate balance, for sure.
Well, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've gone from understanding the basics of T-cell fatigue to grappling with the implications of manipulating our immune system in profound ways.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has, and it's made me realize just how complex and multifaceted this field is.
We've explored the intricacies of T-cell exhaustion, the groundbreaking therapies that are emerging, and the ethical considerations we need to address as we enter this new era of immunology.
And I think what's striking me the most is that this is just the beginning.
Exactly, and that's what's so exciting.
What do you mean?
Research in this field is moving at an incredible pace. We're constantly uncovering new details about the immune system and developing even more sophisticated and targeted therapies.
So what does the future hold?
Imagine a future where we can intervene early in the course of a disease before T cells become exhausted. Imagine a world where chronic illnesses like HIV and hepatitis B are a distant memory.
It's hard to even fathom those possibilities.
It might sound like science fiction, but it's the direction we're heading in.
A world where our immune systems are strong and resilient, able to fight off disease without becoming exhausted.
Precisely. And it's a journey we're all on together.
It sounds almost utopian, like something out of a dream.
It might seem far-fetched, but I truly believe it's within our reach.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, isn't it?
What can our listeners do to stay informed and engaged in this rapidly evolving field?
Stay curious. Keep asking questions.
Because knowledge is power.
Absolutely. The more we understand about the immune system, the better equipped we'll be to advocate for our own health and contribute to a future where these incredible advancements are available to everyone.
That's a fantastic note to end on. A huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this complex and fascinating topic.
It's been my pleasure, truly.
And to you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of T-cell fatigue. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Yeah, it really is incredible to think about all of this, like reprogramming our own cells.
It really is a new frontier.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Absolutely. We've got to be careful with this stuff.
Yeah, so we've talked about all these amazing advancements, taking the brakes off the immune system, giving T cells more fuel, even engineering these supercharged cells. But
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
it is really exciting, but I keep coming back to this, like, are there ethical things we need to be thinking about here?
Oh, for sure. Tons.
Okay, so what kind of ethical considerations are we talking about?
Well, for one, access and affordability.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean, these cutting-edge treatments, they're not cheap.
Right.
And that raises some tough questions.
Like who gets to benefit from them?
Exactly. Who benefits? Who gets left behind? It's a real concern. Yeah, because it's almost like we're on the cusp of this, like, medical revolution, right?
It really feels that way.
But we need to make sure everybody has a ticket to ride.
I couldn't agree more. It can't be a revelation for just the privileged few.
Right, right. Because what's the point of all this amazing science if it's not accessible to everyone who needs it?
Exactly. We need to ensure these advancements benefit all of humanity, not just a select few.
And even beyond the issue of access, there's the whole question of, like, unintended consequences.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, because we're still learning so much about the immune system, right?
Absolutely. And we're messing with some pretty powerful forces here.
So do you think we need to, like, proceed with caution?
I think caution is always wise. When you're venturing into uncharted territory, we need to be mindful of the potential risks, even as we embrace the possibilities.
It's like we're walking this tightrope between pushing the boundaries of science and making sure we're not doing more harm than good.
That's a great way to put it. It's a delicate balance.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from understanding what T-cell fatigue is to, like, grappling with these huge ethical questions about manipulating our immune system.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. It's just amazing to me how much there is to discover about the immune system.
Oh, we've just scratched the surface, believe me.
What do you mean?
Research in this field is exploding right now. Every day we're learning more about how the immune system works, developing even more sophisticated treatments. It's really an exciting time to be in this field.
So what does the future hold? Like, paint me a picture.
Well, imagine a future where we can intervene early on, before T cells even start to get exhausted.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine a world where chronic illnesses like HIV and hepatitis B, there's just a distant memory.
That's amazing to think about.
It is, isn't it? It might sound like science fiction, but it's the direction we're heading in.
A world where our immune systems are just, like, powerhouses, able to fight off anything that comes their way.
Precisely. Strong, resilient, and ready for action.
It sounds almost utopian.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I truly believe it's possible.
Okay, so where do we go from here? What can our listeners do to stay informed and, like, engaged in this rapidly evolving field?
Stay curious, ask questions. Don't be afraid to dive deep into the research. There's so many resources available online. And the more we understand about the immune system, the better equipped we'll be to advocate for our own health and contribute to this incredible future.
That's a fantastic note to end on. A huge thank you to our expert for this amazing deep dive into the world of T-cell fatigue.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.